What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Lexie. I will put my Instagram up above. And as always, all of my discount codes, my coaching link, all that is linked in the description box below. But welcome to today's video, which I think is going to be a fun one. I actually had this idea to make this video this week. I thought it would be kind of fun to do a little trip down memory lane, if I can talk, and show you guys some of my old pictures that I could find from when I first got into fitness, and also just kind of walk you guys through those pictures. And as I think the creepy thing is, I was looking through these pictures before I before I kind of organized this video, and I was like, the creepy thing is I can remember exactly what was going through my head and what I thought about the way I looked and how I was feeling when I took these pictures. So I'm basically going to walk you guys through memory lane and reflect on some of my old gym selfies, because also I didn't really have my Instagram. I mean, I had an Instagram, but it was more of just a personal Instagram. So when I first got into lifting, I didn't really post much about it. I remember I was really afraid to share my fitness journey for a while on social media, which is silly now that I think about it. But a lot of these pictures, I've never posted. They've, nobody's ever seen them. So I'm going to basically show you guys some of those. We're going to do a little bit of chronological order. So I'm going to start with the oldest picture I can find and just walk you guys through a series of pictures, from then to a very recent time. So sit back, enjoy the rest of this video, and enjoy some of these old throwback pictures of myself. All right, so this first picture, this is the first gym, it's not a gym selfie because I'm clearly not at the gym, but this is the first picture that I could find that I had taken of myself where I was flexing. So I remember, and again, this is so weird about all these pictures. So, I can remember vividly what I was thinking in the moment too. And I remember this was a time where I had just started lifting. So little background on me, I won't go into too much detail, but I was a gymnast growing up. And then once I quit gymnastics when I was early in high school, and then I got into running a lot, and I was a big cardio bunny. And then I started dabbling with lifting my senior year of high school. So this was probably around that time. And I remember in the moment taking this picture, did I like the way I looked? Did I like this picture? I remember thinking, no, I didn't love the way I looked. And I remember thinking oh, I feel like I work so hard in the gym, but I don't feel like I really reflect the part. Now, granted, it makes sense. I didn't really watch what I was eating, so obviously that makes sense. But I remember that's vividly what went through my mind when I took this picture. And as you can see, I do have a muscular base. It was just obviously covered by a layer of fat, because like I said, I just didn't watch what I ate. I kind of just, I struggled with binging and restricting for a while, but you can see the Starbucks on the counter. I was really into just the frou-frou Starbucks drinks, didn't care about macros, anything like that. Didn't even know what the hell a macro was at that point. So this is my first gym or flex picture that I could find from when I officially started getting into lifting. Okay, so this is another picture, posed just like the one before. Clearly, I guess I was into this type of posing back in the day, because I can't tell you honestly the last time I've gone and I've taken a picture like this, with this exact pose. But this picture, so flash forward, this picture was probably about a year after the picture I just showed you guys. And so as you guys can tell in this picture, I do look a little bit leaner. Now, I will tell you, when I first started my fitness journey, I didn't weigh myself, so I wish I could, I had that for reference, but I really don't. So I have no idea what I weighed here, no idea what I weighed in the picture before, but clearly, visually, you can tell in this picture, I am a lot leaner. And I actually remember, so this was right before I moved away to college, and I remember this was a time where still wasn't 100% with my nutrition, but I do remember this is when I really started to kind of overcome and get a lot better. I wasn't binging anymore. And so with that alone, I just started to lose weight without even really trying. And I remember I wasn't trying to lose weight or anything, but I do remember going through a period where I did feel and look leaner, and I was getting comments of that too. So again, I wasn't trying to lose weight, but I just by nature had kind of, overcome binging, and my nutrition was a lot more reined in this picture. I still wasn't tracking macros or anything like that. I do remember though in this picture that I had started to be a little bit more in tune with food. So I was a lot better with food. This was kind of when I started going to the grocery store and buying my own food, even though I still lived at home. So I wasn't eating what my family was making and what they had. So I was actually going and buying my own food. I remember that this picture was during that phase. And I remember, starting to build some confidence in the way I looked. This was the first time I'd ever seen myself with this muscle definition. So it was really cool for me to see. And I think that's when I just really started to get addicted to the lifestyle and like bodybuilding, because I was starting to see what I was capable with when it came to what I could do with my body. Okay, so this picture is, so this was in my college dorm room, and this was actually the year I had prepped for my first show, and I'm gonna show you guys in a second my first ever progress picture I sent to my coach at the time. It's actually quite comical because I lived in a dorm room and I had atrocious lighting, and I also didn't know how, like I didn't even know really how to find good lighting. Like I was just so naive to the sport at the time. But anyways, I digress. So this picture, obviously it's not like in a gym, not really, like I'm not in gym clothes, but I do remember taking this picture, and this was like the first time I think I had ever noticed like I had a little bit of vascularity in my upper body, and that this was the first time I'd ever noticed that on myself. And I remember like oh, this is really cool. This is really awesome. And I would say my first year away in college was the year that I noticed a lot of changes in my body, because I had really started to, again, I wasn't tracking macros yet, but I was really starting to prioritize my nutrition. And also I lived in a college dorm room. So, I just ended up like, I only had the food that I bought, right? So I was no longer at home and didn't have all my family's, food laying around that was tempting. So this was the start of the period where I noticed a lot of changes in my body. And so this picture you'll see here, again, I don't know what my weight was in this picture, but this was probably a couple months before I had reached out to my coach at the time, so my first ever coach, and sought out coaching, and then decided to jump into a contest prep. So I'm going to show you guys in the next picture my first ever progress picture, because again, it's quite comical. So this was not my only, but this was one of my, because I took several, like I took other angles and stuff, but this was one of my first ever progress pictures I remember sending to my coach for the first time. So I had signed up with a coach, my first ever coach ever, and it was just somebody local at my gym, really the only competitor I had known of. It was a female, and I remember like the first thing she needed was pictures. So I didn't know how to take a progress picture. I didn't know how to do any of that. Didn't have a posing suit, anything. Clearly I was in sports bra and underwear. And where I am actually standing is, so in college, in my first year, I lived in a triple dorm room. So it was like 2 rooms, basically like think of hotel rooms so basically it was 3 girls living in each room. So we had a room with 3 beds, 3 desks, and then we had this conjoined bathroom that conjoined 2 rooms together. So it was a bathroom that 6 girls shared essentially. So that is where I was standing, because I just didn't want to, stand in the middle of my dorm room and take these pictures. But clearly the lighting was absolutely atrocious. But that's where these pictures were. I can't even remember what I propped my phone on. I didn't have a tripod at the time. I don't even know. So we all start somewhere, and I think it's funny to just walk down memory lane and to think that these were my first progress pictures. And so this was when I hired my first coach. Essentially we went right into prep, and I was already pretty lean as you can kind of tell in this picture, and I had gotten really lean without I don't want to say without trying. Obviously I had cleaned up my diet tremendously, but I don't even think I realized how lean I had gotten. Basically when I moved away to college, I was walking all the flipping time. I didn't have a car, so I walked to the grocery store, I walked to class, and not to mention, I wasn't eating as much, especially later in the day, because I wasn't binging anymore. So that's why I had just kind of gotten really lean without even, I don't want to say without trying. Obviously it was, my diet dictated that, but it wasn't like I had gone away to college with the goal of like, I'm gonna lean down. So I sent these pictures to my first coach, and we actually didn't have to diet too hard to get me stage lean at that point. So this was my first ever progress picture, and it just kind of makes me laugh. All right, so this picture that you see above was before I believe my first show, no, my second show. So I did 2 shows the first season I ever competed. One was late so I was still in the dorm room for one of them, and then this one right here, I had moved back home for the summer, and this is where that picture was taken. So this picture was, I remember, like maybe 2 days before my second ever show. And honestly, sometimes looking at this picture, I get kind of sad, because the couple months after my second show here, this is when I probably came the closest I've ever been to like quote unquote being depressed. And and not like to go into that, but I think that sometimes just this picture makes me think of that time in my life and makes me really sad. Now, so this picture, again, I was working with the same coach. I was in my opinion, when I look back at this picture and as a coach myself now, I feel like I was way too lean. I was way too lean, but I also feel like my digestion was never the best. So it was hard to feed me a ton of food without drawing out my waistline. But as you can see in this picture, I was just really, I would say grainy, like just grainy muscle overall. And so meaning I was just too lean. But again, in this picture, I didn't really, I didn't know much about the sport. I didn't know, what they were looking for in bikini. As far as I knew, it was just a contest of who was the leanest with muscles. So, but yeah, this picture, like I said, it's a cool picture to look at, oh, this was right before my second show, but it's also kind of makes me sad knowing what I, dealt with afterwards. So anyways, it's just an interesting picture to keep in the archives. All right, so this set of progress pictures was deep into my second prep. So this was my first prep with Paul. This was in 2021, and so you guys just saw one of my pictures before my first ever show with my first coach, and then this was after I had graduated college. This was in 2021. Literally, I think it was probably like the week after I graduated college, as I remember I was in prep during my graduation. But these set of progress pictures, I was tiny, and at the time, like I didn't see it. I took these pictures and I knew I was lean and small, but now looking back at them, I'm like, oh my God, I was so tiny. So it's just funny to look back at them and see how small I was, especially in my upper body. I just was like, I looked like a little stick. I mean, yeah, I had glute tie-ins, or glute hamstring tie-ins, but I was so tiny. So yeah, so now you guys saw my picture from right before my first season, and then now this was after, these were the pictures right before my second season was starting. So this was my prep. The first prep, I was under the guidance of Paul. All right, so this picture was at the very beginning of my prep in 2023. So this picture, I remember taking this picture, and actually I remember taking this picture and loving the way I looked. I remember taking this picture and thinking like, oh my gosh, look how much muscle you've added, how much shape you've added. So I loved this picture when I took it. Little did I know this was gonna be the start of a prep that was extremely long and gruesome. So this was right before I had found out that I had a really bad gut issue and it was wreaking havoc on my thyroid. So this was the very beginning of my prep in 2023. And so I did document that whole prep here on YouTube. So if you're new here, you can go back and watch that. But I remember when I took this picture, I really liked the way I looked. And I felt like, even though I was at a higher body weight and at the start of my prep, I loved my shape and I loved my musculature. But little did I know my prep was gonna be a long one. And this picture was taken, I remember, like in January, and little did I know I wouldn't get on stage until July. So it was a long prep. All right, so this is gonna be the last picture I show. So this is at the very end of my 2023 prep. So as I just mentioned, my 2023 prep, I documented it all on here on YouTube. So again, you can go back and watch that series, but it was a long ass prep. So it was like a good 7 months, more than that, of prep. And it was a tough prep. Like this was the deepest we've ever had to dig, lowest I've ever had to get with macros, highest I've ever had to get with cardio. I remember there were times where I was questioning whether I'd be able to get stage lean or not, which was interesting because this was the first time I had quite honestly had a hard time getting stage lean. In my preps before that, I had never really had an issue with that. So this was probably this is the toughest prep I've had to date. It was absolutely so worth it though, because I think when I eventually did get stage lean, it just made it so much more like worth it. But this picture was taken, I believe, 1 or 2 days out from my last show in 2023. So I remember taking this picture and thinking like, wow, like I loved the way I looked. My back pose, I wasn't as confident in, but my front pose in this picture, I was super confident in this. I loved the way I looked. I was very confident that it was my personal best, and I was very satisfied with that. So this is the last picture I'm going to kind of reflect on, because I think it's just kind of cool to like, this was right before my last show of 2023. So it's kind of cool to reflect on all these pictures and to see, where I was at in different stages of my fitness journey. All right, so that is going to conclude this little trip down memory lane in today's video. So I hope this was kind of a fun video to watch, and I want it to serve as a reminder that we all start somewhere. And one of the things I always tell my clients is, don't compare. I think we always hear this, but like, don't compare yourself to people that you see on social media, because you have to realize that a lot of people that you see on social media, whether it be the best competitor in the world or just, somebody living the fitness lifestyle who has a physique physique that you wish to have, you have to remember that sometimes, most of the time, these people have been living this lifestyle for 5+ years, right? So if like you're new to this journey or you're new to competing, you have to remind yourself of that. Don't compare your year 1 to somebody else's year 5. Like we all start somewhere, even myself included, and I can sit here today and look back at these pictures and, you know, just laugh at them. But also, you know, I'm very grateful for them because they all were very pivotal times in my life that led me, you know, as cliche as it sounds, led me to where I'm at now. I've made a lot of mistakes throughout my fitness journey, but I would not go back and change them because honestly, they all taught me so much, and I'm really grateful for that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, as I mentioned at the beginning, my discount codes, my coaching link are linked below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will catch you guys in the next video.